the number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio is back. NHRA Nitro is on the air. I'm Joe Castello, and we are following up the Potomac Nationals presented by JEGS, a blowout event at Maryland International Raceway. We were sold out on Saturday, capacity plus crowds, and it was amazing. It was the return to the winner's circle for the Prock Rocket. Sean Langdon gets the win. Greg Anderson gets the win. Angie Smith gets the win. We're going to talk about it all. But our guest today, Jimmy Prock. Yeah, has he got anything to talk about? I think he does. We're going to speak with Jimmy coming up seconds from now. So fans of Funny Car, interested observers, fans of Jimmy Prock, you're going to want to share the show. We certainly invite you to subscribe and click the bell and never miss one. The people who make WFO Radio possible, I just want to shout out to Marvin Rodak. We'll talk about these guys in depth a little bit later. Foggett, Gary Stinnett's engine spray that works on everything. Bernie's Speed Shop, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Thank you, Frank, for supporting WFO Radio. Redline Synthetic Oil, Hussey Performance and their gaskets. Thank you, Hussey. I got him on Project Pontiac. Larice Motorsports Insurance, Total Seal, Jesse Converters, and FTI Performance. But without further ado, guys, let's share the show. This is a great one. And I'll tell the story of how it came to be after we welcome Jimmy Prock. Jimmy, welcome back to WFO. How are you?
Good. Glad to be here.
Congratulations. So here's the deal. Like Langdon and Austin, I figured like one or the other would be able to come on the show. Not available, right? Greg Anderson's going to be on Life's a Drag. Angie Smith's going to be on with NHRA Insider Brian Lone. So I woke up this morning like, I got to pull a rabbit out of the hat. Bam. You are the rabbit. It doesn't get better than this. I'm super excited. Are you ahead of schedule, behind schedule, or right on schedule with this win?
Oh, I don't know. It takes a lot to get one of these cars sorted out, all the different components and everything. And we were behind, and really, I don't know. I'm glad to win. I guess we would obviously like to have a round win or two, not struggle as bad as we did, at some of those races. But we've been picking away at it, and it's starting to come around. I'm getting more of a baseline, and last week it was starting to act more what I'm accustomed to.
So let's go backwards. And, obviously the decision, I'd love your opinion on that, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I know there's a lot of layers, right? Employers, be working like that. That's for you to decide how much you want to share out there. I know Austin has shared some, and Thomas certainly. The end of the Chasing Speed documentary was Austin kind of putting his heart out there for the world to understand. It was about racing with the family. You can address that if you choose. I also would like to know, just like, where do you even begin when you show up at a new operation and they got all these parts and pieces? They've done it their way, and you got to like make it your way. So kind of bring us through that whole transitional period, if you can.
Yeah, it was certainly a challenge, but, you just have to, go through it. It was a massive undertaking, and, you don't really have that much time to do it. 2 months with the holidays and all of the stuff, it was difficult to get it done, but we kept plugging away at it. We didn't get everything up and running the way we wanted it by the first race of the year. We had to ease into that and wait for, for all of the components to get there, so it's a big undertaking. And, It's, and especially in the amount of time we did.
Well, exactly. And ordering parts. Anyone who has ordered parts, and not everybody has. That's the thing. It's like you could order a part for anything, and it's going to take a period of time, let alone a nitro car. And so you went into this operation. Bob's car was already fast. Was there anything that you were able to just keep, or is it all new?
Most all of it's new. We changed, a lot of it, more of what I was accustomed to running over there. Obviously the cylinder heads are different. The intake manifold's different. Superchargers different. All those parts were, we produced over there at JFR. So, that was the biggest thing. You can get the short block, all that stuff the way you want it, but you got to run all these different components, and it doesn't take the same tune-up or settings or anything to make this engine run like the one that I was running the last few years over there. So that was part of the learning curve. You just can't go in there the same timing, blower, compression, fuel. It ain't all the same from place to place, and that's part of of how you got to learn. How to make these parts run.
And the ultimate decision to go there, we've heard from Bob, we've heard from Austin. This was, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I would imagine it would be a very difficult, gut-wrenching, challenging, serious decision for you and your family.
Yeah, it certainly was. It wasn't something that I took lightly or, necessarily wanted to do in the beginning. But, ultimately, I just say I made what I thought was the best decision for me and my family. And, that is a long-term decision. And, that's what we thought was the best thing to do.
So the family stays together, and that's what Austin told us. He's like, look, this is the rarest of the rare. My dad and my brother, we race together. We go to battle together. Like, that just doesn't happen when the whole team is together. And you guys have been on WFO in the past. I encourage everybody to go to all of them together. But this, I asked Thomas, and he says, like, this tested you. Like, this was a test for the family.
Yeah, for sure it was, and like like we said, obviously taking this over wasn't an easy task, but we just kept working away at it and, trying to, build a car that can run and contend for a championship, and you have to believe in yourself. And, we thought that we could do this. It's, you don't know how long it's going to take and whatever, but, we're making positive steps, getting to where we need to be. And, that's our job. That's what we need to do.
So there are some questions coming in. I warned you that, someone might ask a decent question, right? And Derail, the manufacturer change, I think, is an interesting part of the story. You got a different body, but I feel like you've had experience with it somewhere in the past. What difference does that make? Derail wants to know if there is a difference at all.
I would say there's slight differences, but they seem to perform comparably. Like, I'm happy with this body. Like, there's no, it picks up, good speed from, in the last 300 and whatever, 20 feet of the run or 40 feet of the run. So, it all appears to be working, and I'm happy with it. I think the body's a good design for sure.
Excellent. Well, it is going well. Let's talk about your round by round, starting out with that run against Hagen, where Austin and Hagen are on stage with me, the marquee matchup. You're having a good effort throughout qualifying, and your reward is a 4-time champ and one of NHRA's 75 best, the last 2 guys to hoist the trophies. I observe that the marquee matchup very often sends someone to the race winner, the final, because you gotta really bring it round 1. Talk about preparing for that run.
Yeah, that certainly was, a big run for us, especially in the position we're in. We need points. We got to get into the top 10. We need to move up, hopefully into a more favorable, better position when the countdown starts. So, we got to make hay. So that was a huge round. And, those guys obviously are as tough as they get. They were right there till the end last year. They've won multiple championships, and they're a very good race team.
But you got through and set the tone for the day, setting up a battle against Spencer Hyde and Jim Head. And, 397, 399. Let's take a second to talk about the track surface in Maryland International. It was a very different approach, it seemed, than South Georgia Motorsports Park. Like everyone seemed to, I don't know, tiptoe, or maybe the track was a little better or whatever, but cars were getting down the racetrack and taking what was available as opposed to try and run those 80. So how did you approach it?
Yeah, honestly, like when I got there, I was, wondering, we haven't raced on 300 feet of concrete, and I don't even remember the last time, but in the end, I was really impressed with how the track was. There's some bumps there at the transition. We smoked the tires once going over in the right lane. The left lane was pretty much the lane of choice because of that. But in the end, you saw by the end of the race, the right lane produced as quick a runs as, the left lane did. The Top Fuel final was a dead heat. We made our best run of the weekend in the right lane. Beckman ran 92 or whatever he ran in the semis in the right lane. So all in all, I was really impressed with that racetrack. And I thought the concrete, the first 300 feet, was, for the temperature of that track and everything and how we ran, I was impressed with it.
Yeah, and the crowd and the location, the East Coast fans, they all got something out of it. I do hope we continue to go there. I know we renewed tickets, and so we'll be back there next year. But yes, I was impressed.
It was a great event, and the fans are great on the East Coast. I grew up racing with my dad, on the East Coast, match racing and all that stuff. And they have some really great drag racing fans in that area.
Yes, underserved now, unfortunately, just given, E-Town going away. We'll talk about New England. The New England area still has an amazing track, and you're going there to try to go back to back. But let's keep with that, the process of Spencer Hyde. The 399 gets you through to the semis where you have to run Ron Capps. Another 399, Austin driving the wheels off, 67, 65, 76. Are you, I know you never think about like winning the race. You're thinking about the task at hand, but how are you processing things at that point?
Yeah, we were just taking it one round at a time. Obviously we haven't, gone, fortunately the last two races we've gone, deeper in the race, and, we didn't run as good in Chicago as, we wanted in the semis. And, so we were going through this race, and I was just trying to pick away at it, a little at a time there. And, that round there, we, we're just trying to keep pace. We thought if we drove good and ran another high 390, we had a good chance of winning the race, winning that round. And, we did. And so then it was on to the final.
On to the final. And that was wild. And guys, I'm noticing the numbers are going up. Share the show, guys. Like if you're a fan of funny car racing, NHRA, it's like going up in big bursts. Jimmy Prock on the show. I will tell you, I'm excited for the first time that the old car and you guys, Chris and Jordan and you guys run each other. And I was thinking it could have happened on this given day. But in the end, I think it works out better that now you've both won races. They've won, you've won. That's a fun storyline for the future. In this case, though, it was Jack Beckman. He's tough. That team is tough. How did you prepare for the final round against John Force Racing?
Well, we just, I viewed it like, we were picking away at it. And I certainly, felt like we needed to run better than we had. To that point. And so we tried to pick it up. The track got a little bit better, and, we made some adjustments to try to make a quicker run. And fortunately it did it. And Austin drove good enough, and, we won. So that was good for us because we're learning, we're still building and doing all that. And I had to, try to perform a little better just for the bank. We gotta pick it up. And they were out, they arguably had the best car there all weekend. They made some pretty quick runs, and, we needed to step up.
So there's one of our viewers. He's there every week, but this week I think is a little special. I think he calls you the man, but I think he's the man. Larry Spider-Man McBride out there saying what's up and congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you, Larry. Yeah, Larry is the man. He's the man with those Top Fuel motorcycles for sure.
Nuts.
Known him a long time.
Yeah, he said that you, in a previous interview with Larry, because Larry comes on, fair amount, gave him the insight into the swept back header, and he swept his header back, and it worked big time. You're an interested observer in that stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I've known Larry forever. My kids used to hang out in his pits when they were little, and in the races when I worked for Joe Amato. So we've known Larry forever. And he's a good family friend, and we always talk racing, and I'm always interested in his stuff there, and we chit chat back and forth and try to help one another.
I think that's great. This guy says, did Jimmy get to build the Revell model kit of his dad's custom body funny car? What of it?
Yeah, oh yeah, we had all that stuff when we were kids. Yeah, for sure. We'd build them, break them, do all of that, play with them. Yeah, but we did that.
I would imagine, like, your dad's got a model car, you gotta buy it, and you gotta build it, and you gotta have a little fun. But a lot of people, if we did the Mount Rushmore game, the Mount Rushmore game for any sport, right? You're on there, and your life has been drag racing, and you're still in the middle of it. And you got a long way to go. But in my conversations with, Ron Tobler, it's not about racing the other driver. It's about racing Jimmy. What's Jimmy doing? All that kind of stuff. Probably don't spend too much time thinking about that. But what do you think your place in this sport is and has become to this point?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think about that. Honestly, I've always, I race, and you win, and you don't know when you're going to win again. You just keep trying to work and, be better. And that's how I've always approached it. I don't really, think much about any of that stuff. That's for other people, to decide. Drag racing's been good to me. I started with my father when I was 11 years old, and I've worked my way through it, and met a lot of nice people, good friends, and I just enjoy the racing, the challenge of it. These cars are challenging, and it's always fun to learn and keep moving ahead, and that's how I look at it. And when my kids started racing and I got to race with them, that really, it energized me. It re-energized me. And, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And how proud of you of your boys. Like that Thomas just does a tremendous job with all of us. A lot of details behind the scenes that people don't even maybe realize. Like he'll be helpful, certainly to me and Jason. Austin taking the burden of being the face that has to deal with whatever comes with maybe being perceived as a bad guy now by some. I think he's doing a great job. When you look at the kids, how proud are you?
Yeah, I'm proud of them. It's people are entitled their opinions of what they think. But like I said, I did what I thought was best for our family, and ultimately I was the one that made the decision to move on. So, they have a right. The only problem I have with any of that is when stuff gets mean, or hateful. You're entitled to your opinion, but I don't like that stuff. I don't look at it. I'm not on Facebook. I hear about it, but that's the only problem I have. People are entitled to their opinion, and that's how it is, and it's part of this business and the world today. So that's all I really have to say about that.
I would agree. No, I agree. It doesn't ever have to get mean. This is drag racing, guys. We're a tiny sport trying to make it in the big world with everything that we have that's great about it. There's no reason to go negative really ever, especially not.
And the other thing is some of the positives of this. I mean, Jordan Vandergrift got a great opportunity.
Yes.
Bob stepped aside, and we came over here, and Jordan Vandergrift got a great opportunity, the one that he's been waiting for.
100%. The dominoes that all fell, like Chris gets to be the guy over there, and just a whole bunch of things. Speaking of that, though, Brian wants to know, and this is a good deal. I kind of understand, Bob has told me, but share with everyone. Brian wants to know if it would be helpful to have a second car with Bob in it to the team overall. We want Bob back. Bob says it's just not possible right now with parts and pieces, and it's better to get you guys fully up to speed and then duplicate it. But for the fans of Tasca out there, is there a timeline, and how much help would that be to you?
Yeah, ultimately that is the goal. Right now, the undertaking of it would be, a lot. It wouldn't be beneficial right now. Ultimately, in the long run, would it? Yes. I feel that it would be. We've got to find the funding and do all that stuff. And, Bob and us, we have a long-term plan here, and I'm sure hoping that, we can make that happen.
Yeah, the chassis shop, which Bob has talked a little bit about, kind of under publicized. There's a lot of in-house stuff going on there at Tasca Racing, and I'm very excited for it. Hey, New England Nationals. Let's talk about this third race of 3 in a row. Or second race of 3 in a row. And this is a classic drag strip, another relatively small track. I fully anticipate another massive crowd. Give us your preview.
Yeah, I love racing up there. The country's beautiful. The fans are great. It's an old iconic track, and we've done well there, but ain't ever won. And I've, been to the final a couple times, I think. Yeah, I would really like to win that race, and hopefully, if we can do that this weekend, we'll go in there and give it our best shot and see where it falls.
Segrini going to be one of the legends of the race. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. All right, final question. I know that you're a hockey guy. I don't know how many people know but Jimmy loves hockey. That's his thing. We got the Golden Knights and we got Carolina gonna battle it out. My Florida Panthers did not make the playoffs after 3 in a row. That's fine. But who's your team? Like, who's your hockey team?
My hockey team's the Red Wings.
Okay, makes sense.
From Detroit, so. Yeah, the Red Wings are my team, but, they've been struggling here the last few years, and hopefully they'll get better, but they had a pretty good run there for a while. So,
yeah, well, right. Dino Cicerelli, those guys, great stuff. Do you have, who would you rather see win of these two teams?
I don't know. I guess it would, I don't really have a favorite. I just love the playoffs when you, watch hockey, how hard those guys go at it. It's a pretty amazing sport. And I'm not sure who's going to win this. I think it could go either way. But, I don't know. I'd be happy if either one won it. Honestly, if you look at the Golden Knights, what they've done since they come into the league's pretty impressive. And, Carolina's always has a solid club. So, it should be a great Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, the heartbreaking way a hockey game can end or be won, similar to the win light coming on. There's a light on top of the net. There's a light on top of the scoreboard. You're looking at the light, but it happens fast.
Yeah, it does.
Jimmy, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Thanks for, coming on this morning. I really appreciate it. We'll let you get back to work, but congratulations. 7 races into a new deal. I think you're ahead of schedule. Like, that's amazing. I was giving you guys to halfway through the season, and you're already back in the winner's circle. I know more to come. So congratulations. And thank you so much.
Yeah, we made a lot of progress in a couple of weeks there. We stumbled along, but we stayed and tested in Valdosta and got over some of the issues we were having, and been getting the clutch more dialed in. And so it's starting to look better now.
It's going to be a lot of fun for us, like fans of drag racing. Like, we got a lot of fun storylines.
Yeah, it's good for the sport. It's brings interest and all that. And it should be good. Like I said, I think all this is good for the sport. It brings publicity to it, attention to it. And it's a good thing.
It's a soap opera out there these days, that's what everybody likes. Jimmy, thank you very much. Appreciate you.
All right. Love what you do.
Thank you, Jimmy. Congratulations. Jimmy Prock. Later, bud. with us here on WFO Radio. How about that? The Prock Rocket back in the winner's circle once again. Drop some comments in the comment section. What is this? Thank you. Interview with strategy professional artist. I like the fact that he's just picking away at it, right? That's it. How do we make it better? A little better, incrementally better each time. We got to make it a little bit better each time. All right. When we come back, we are going to break down the other categories, like our top fuel final coming down to 2/10,000ths of a second, nearly identical runs on both sides of the racetrack. It's great for Coletta Motorsports. Everybody else, though, yikes. All right. We'll talk a little bit about that. Did Jimmy say his family's from Detroit? Yes. Love to see it. Kick-ass Joe. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you. Let's get your comments and your thoughts in the comment section and see what you guys have to say. We'll do that after the break. But first, I want to tell you about our great friends at Larice Motorsports Insurance. Holden Larice and the team at Larice Motorsports Insurance. Do you have a bracket car? Do you have a race car? Do you have a racing operation, a trailer, golf carts, tools? You got to cover that stuff. You've got to cover that stuff. If you're like me, maybe you're not. Maybe you're like, you know what? Throw it in the gutter, go buy another. Maybe, not me. Every dime that I could put aside went into the Project Pontiac operation. And when I'm going to bring it out on the highways and byways of Florida, I've got to be covered. So I reached out to Larice Motorsports Insurance. And the best thing is, into the water box. And then once you hit the return road, it's covered. You can get key on track insurance. I do not have that. I don't race quite enough. But you got to reach out to these guys. The thing that makes them different is that they don't have all the exemptions and exclusions. Where was it? Oh, it wasn't parked in its normal location that we agreed upon. It was at your fellow racer's house between racers. Sorry, you're not covered. Oh, there was racing fuel in the trailer. You had racing fuel in your race car trailer. Oh, no, you're not covered. And that is what makes the policy. So reach out to Larice Motorsports Insurance. We're talking to you, racers, and just get a quote. Just get a quote. When you realize how much to cover, how much for what, it's the biggest no-brainer in the history of Earth, really. But not everybody knows, and it's sometimes a hard sell to spend money for something that hopefully you never use. Hopefully you never have to call Holden Larice. But I got a lot of people in the audience who have, and they have covered it. And so Larice Motorsports Insurance on board with WFO Radio. Greatly appreciate them. Also want to remind you guys about our Patreon VIP Listener Club. This is a behind the scenes. It's like a second show just for the patrons. Here's the deal. These guys pay a monthly that they choose. They get specific content just for them. And, we've done some giveaways and whatnot, but really it's a reward for the people who really support WFO Radio. You can go to patreon.com/WFO Radio if you want to join. And if you join for a year, you'll get a free t-shirt and stickers and all that stuff. I'll be sending out a batch very, very soon. But if you want to become even more invested in the WFO universe, you can jump on board with our Patreon listener club, patreon.com/WFO Radio. All right. Your comments, no more guests. That's it. Jimmy Prock is the man. We'll be debriefing on the Potomac Nationals presented by Jegs when we return with your comments and questions after this.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Looking to replace your OEM diesel particulate filter or diesel oxidation catalyst? Look no further than DPF XFit, a complete line of aftermarket diesel particulate filters and diesel oxidation catalysts designed as an exact fit OEM replacement with all makes coverage for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks. With thousands of units in stock, we ship the same or next day, and be sure to check out our comprehensive reverse OEM lookup tool. Always new, never remanufactured. For more information, be sure to visit dpfxfit.com. That's dpfxfit.com.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks, If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
Bonanza League. I don't know if you have or you haven't, but you should. WFO Radio is the password. Caps WFO Radio, all one word. And you could join the league. Let's give some results. 2026 Potomac Nationals. The overall winner is this. This can't be right. This can't be right. Stubo wins the overall league. Way to go, Sue Morris, our co-host on the Ignition podcast. Dave and Sue Morris, Super Gas Racers, Super Gas, Super Comp, Super Street. Sue Morris, 105.42. Congratulations. Was out of possible points, 105.42. Brenwald Media, second, 104.28. Way to go, Steve Brenwald. Super Street, 53.45. Third, Beer Guy. Mac, 13.20. Galvin, just ahead of me, seventh. I might as well give actual results. Mac, 13.20. Diz Dragster, sixth. Double B Nitro, seventh, tied with Galvin. And me, ninth. I'm thrilled with ninth. I don't even know if I'm reading the scores right, but I am not going to switch it up because I like what I'm seeing. Speaking of Beer Guy, I was on the Pit podcast last week with Josh and the Beer Guy, and I had a great time. I was on for like an hour, and it's very different than, being a guest on someone else's show than it is doing my own show. Doing my own show, it's an intense experience. Imagine going on a drive through the mountains. When you're driving, it can definitely be fun, and you just got to be totally on at all seconds. Being a guest, you can look out the window. I'm interested in what they're talking about. And we shared a nugget about Angie Smith, potentially, or someone, the next female winner becoming the 200th win for women. And then it happened. So that was kind of cool. Go back and check. I want to make sure those guys get a lot of views on their YouTube, right? So they invite me back. That's the way I get invited on other shows, is by trying to be a good guest and promoting it and mentioning it to this audience. And, who knows? Maybe someone watched that has now come on to WFO, and they're going to be one of our viewers on a regular basis, on the reg. I hope. Let's talk Top Fuel, guys. Let's talk Top Fuel. Sean Langdon gets a bye run first round, goes up against Justin Ashley second round. And I'm telling you, I've never seen a dragster go straighter down the racetrack than Sean Langdon's. So much so that I've been tracking the story. And I do appreciate Brian Hewson letting the cat out of the bag, if there even is a cat in the bag, about the Max Pappas wheel. Asked Sean about it. And he's like, oh, you noticed that. It's been on all year. But talking a little bit about it, J.R. Todd was the first to have it that I know about in Funny Car. It's been over a season now. Very interesting how takes some time. Well, Sean's got it, and that car's going so straight. So I asked Sean about it after Brian alerted the world, yeah, we're using the Max Pappas wheel. I asked Sean about it. He says it's a combination of things. He said, one, yes, the wheel. But two, the PBRC car, he loves it, and he just loves the feel. And I just have never seen, I stand behind the cars, guys. I stand right behind them. Never seen a car go so straight. And it just makes sense that they are dominating the way that they are. Semifinals against Billy Torrance and just the ETs, 71, 79, 77 as it heated up. Final round against Doug Coletta. He's 56 in the final with a 76.2. Doug is 52 with a 76.6. You don't have to be Neil deGrasse Tyson to do that math and come up with it's a dead heat. It's a dead heat. 2 10,000ths of a second. That is insane. And brings us to what we kind of have been kicking around, especially on the Ignition audio only podcast, which if you are a WFO viewer of NHRA Nitro, you haven't seen that or heard it because it's audio only, unless you're a Patreon. Cover a lot of ground, and it's a lot of fun. It's a group hangout session with people from around the world, genuinely. And the idea that this year might be a Coletta Motorsports steamroll job has been discussed. And why wouldn't it be? Coletta Motorsports, team that wants for nothing, Alan Johnson on the Mount Rushmore, Doug Coletta and Sean Langdon, two great drivers, and Brian Hewson, Alan Johnson's protege. It took him a little while at Coletta Motorsports to sort it out. And now, what you gonna do? Right, here they come. What you can do? Which of these teams, which of our other teams will be able to rise up and knock them off the top. It's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. And so Brian Hughes and Sean Langdon keep their, let's call it dominance going, 3 in a row, the hat trick, if you will. That is very rare. 76-point lead for Sean over Doug, 216-point lead over Leah, 298 over Tony. And I think that very accurately shows you what's going on in the class. Sean Langdon, 3 consecutive wins. And, Sean is as talented as anyone who's ever driven one of these race cars, one of NHRA's 75 greatest champs and everything. And he's one of those people that, when it goes well, it can get better because he's feeling super positive about it. So real interesting. I want to get Sean here on the show. And one of these got to win 4 in a row now, Sean. That's could it happen? Yeah, I think it could happen. They could have one of these historic seasons right now. And so we'll see how it all works out. But Top Fuel was wild. Let's see what some of the comments are out there before we move into pro stock. Here's one I didn't get to. Is there anything that Jimmy would change to the funny car or the fuel classes as a whole? I don't like to ask those questions at the start of the season. I feel like that's an off-season question because I feel like it's kind of in the neighborhood of something is wrong. There's nothing wrong with fuel racing. It's awesome. The only thing that is slightly wrong is it's very, very expensive. A lot of consumables, very expensive. I know a lot of people, think we got to do things to make it less expensive. I don't know. I think we need to do some things to, maybe NHRA can do some things to make it less expensive in terms of parts or pieces or crew or, expenses. But I wouldn't change the cars at all. I wouldn't. I think we're in the sweet spot right now. Right now. It's exciting. The playing field is level for the most part. Look at Formula One. They change every couple of years to keep it interesting. And Mercedes has hit the new rules. They got it. And nobody else does. And so it's 5 wins for Mercedes. 1 by George Russell, 4 by Kimi Antonelli. Does anyone want that? No. It's wide open. Don't change anything. My opinion. That's why we have a show. So I can give it. But he loves the Procks. Dugenet Bland. Fans will always fan. Every sport has to deal with fanatics. Most athletes don't even address those things. It's par for the course. I like that Austin is addressing them. Who's laughing now? I don't have to experience the world that Austin experiences. I don't know what people say to him, but I don't know that anyone was laughing. I think dyed-in-the-wood John Force fans are just disappointed because they know what has gone away. A true great team, great driver, great crew chief. But based on what we're seeing, I think it's making the class better and more interesting. And Jimmy's right. Jordan Vandergriff is now getting this opportunity. So, there's always going to be some repercussions. Marty likes the conversation. This person just wants to say hello. It's LaToya, McNeil Freeman's special lady. How's Mac? I was at the track on Saturday. Had a great time. It is smaller than Maple Grove. Tried to get as many drivers and crew chiefs to sign my 75th shirt. Missed some, says Christine. Pre-race after the stage is a good time to get drivers. You got to come to another event. That's all, Christine. You got to come to another event. Come to New England. Come to Bristol. It's not that far. Come to another. Come to Vegas. To me, the sign, though, the metal sign is the best. Mr. Ant Dog wants, what's he saying? Joe, it angers me. Oh, I love quotes like this. When so-called fans are bagging on a race like they did, I bet half had not been to a track in years. I didn't see anybody bagging on the race. And that's our problem, guys, as a society, as a world. 100 out of 100 people, 80 like it, 5 hate it, and the rest are indifferent and don't really have an opinion. And I will fixate on the 5. That's wrong. You should not do that. I'm not saying don't listen to what they say, but consider the source. Maybe they're just generally unhappy people. That could be true. Maybe on this given day, maybe they, the morning miracle never came and they're just feeling compressed. Who knows? And so you just got to roll with it. Of the people that I engaged with while at the track, nearly all of them had the same thing to say. They loved it. It was great. There's no reason we can't go there. I spoke with Royce Miller multiple times, and he said to me, man, I just wish we had a little more property. I wish we had a little more property. I don't know what it takes to cut trees down there. Knowing most places, they don't want to cut down forests and whatnot. Give us a year or two, and we will figure out how to deal with the situation. Mac is, in the WFO league. Good job. I was 10th. Pit Podcast had a blast with me on there. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate that. Honor to be on your show. Honor. Genuinely. Saw you laughing with John Force on the track on Fox on Sunday. So we did a feature with John Force, with the ring, right? Like this is last year's ring. This is my copy of the Renew Your Tickets 75th anniversary ring. And John had gone to the folks at the NHRA and said, hey, I want to help with the renewals. What can I do? And so he came over. It would be great if I could play this clip, but it's okay. That's my fault. I could have gone and grabbed it, but didn't know this was going to come up. Anyway, so John is holding the ring and I asked him to put the ring on. Yeah, put on the ring. Because I'm full of great ideas, except the ring became stuck on John's finger. It became stuck. And these rings are huge. That tells us something about John and the ring. And he couldn't get it off. And after the bit was over, it's like, And so they had to go back to the pit. And I don't know whether they used, fog it or what they used to get the ring off. But then the ring was, returned to me, which I have it now here still. But the John Force worn ring is still with me. What will happen with that John Force worn ring? I don't know. But that's what we were laughing about, I think. That's what it was. And I did rock the Meta sunglasses for the first time. Speaking of John Force, did you get your ring back from him? Oh, here it is. There it is. Yes, I did. I eventually got it back. Bob from Force Racing brought it back. He's like, here you go. I'll go there. Why not? What is your opinion on 2 races in one at Maple Grove in September? Ever seen anything like this before? Will we see anything like that before? And I don't know. I think everything is still up in the air with the greatest of respect. With the greatest of respect as someone who tries to treat everybody and everything with honor and integrity and everything. Like, is that going to happen? My feelings of an understanding of what's definitely going to happen and what might happen and what might not happen and what is even real have been shook. And so I'm going to do my thing and talk NHRA drag racing. I know that New England is definitely going to happen and Bristol is definitely going to happen and Norwalk is definitely going to happen. And I know that the Western Swing, Sonoma and Seattle are definitely going to happen. I know Brainerd is definitely going to happen. I know Indy is definitely going to happen unless like something crazy happens, Ebola. Oh man. Right. Or maybe the Iranians are marching, through Alaska as we speak. I don't know. Or, Red Dawn. I don't know, but I'm highly confident, guys. As far as that, less confident. So that's why I wish everyone the best. Want it to go well. 5 more wins for Sean this year. That's all, David? Only 5. I have no complaints on the fuel classes. I was just interested. Thank you. I know, D-Rail. I'm just busting your chops. They were saying no sportsmen, but if they paid attention, they would have known it was small. Look, many of our sportsman racers were just disappointed they couldn't be there. And logistics-wise, East Coast racers don't get very many opportunities. You can go to Charlotte. You can go to New England. You can go to Maryland. But if you want to run for the Diamond Wally, all of a sudden now your options, because of the aforementioned, are fewer. And so, of course, they want to be invited. There's a party and you're not invited. Well, there's no space, man. We're doing a party in a bathroom here. It's small. We could not have fitted one more car. No joke. And I know, the Warner Brothers, Those guys are very vocal on social. I see them all. Oh, we could have. Maybe it would have been better to have a stock, super stock kind of thing instead of Top Sportsman. Then the Top Sportsman guys would have been bummed out. There was a whole little controversy with grading points. There's always a reason. You just got to take the time to think about what the reason is or ask someone before you go and puke out negativity on the social. But is that ever going to happen? Of course not. People are going to go puke it out on the social. That's going to be number one. Greg Anderson going to be on Life's a Drag tomorrow. Greg Anderson goes to the final round and wins it. Win number 114. Greg Stanfield was the number one qualifier, but in the final round, it was Greg Anderson and Dallas Glenn. Dallas was 27 on the tree. Greg was what? 84? Come on, Greg. I didn't know that. But Dallas shook the tires and Greg Anderson wins 114, 647, 212. The cars were fast. Pro Stock was awesome. Watching Michael Heiner get his round one win with the Get Biofuel car. Wheels were up. I love when Pro Stock cars launch wheels up. I know it's not the most efficient way, but it's super cool. Kenny Delco beats Matt Hartford first round. You know, Hartford and those guys have been helping Delco, and Delco beat him. Hartford, wicked ride right towards the wall. I don't know if you guys saw that, if you could see it on NHRA on Fox, but standing behind the car, that thing was trucking right at the wall. Matt, act of courage, kept the hammer down. It set the tires down inches from the wall, and they brought it back into the groove, lost too much time. Lost the race to KD. And KD has a problem second round. Troy Coughlin goes up against Dallas. Dallas wins that. Dallas gets through Aaron and Shane Tucker. Other side of the ladder, Greg and Greg in the semis. Great race. Greg Stanfield got a really fast car, but Greg Anderson wins 114. Greg Anderson is going to be on Life's a Drag. And I highly recommend you watch Elin and Abby. Point standings, Dallas leads Greg by 11, leads Greg Stanfield by 147. And so Matt Hartford is fourth, 220 back. So very similar to last year, in that Dallas and Greg have had the stranglehold on the category. Let's see what else. Let's go. Jordan, he's killing it. Nothing but love and respect for me. Thank you. I don't know if he's even talking about me. All right, let's talk about the one category that I think everybody really wanted to talk about. So I talked to Angie in the media center, and Brian Loans texted me, and he was like, hey, I was going to have Angie on, and so Angie's going to be on with Brian Loans. You can hear that whole story on the NHRA Insider. We had Angie on 2 weeks ago, and I want to hog up Angie. But guys, so first of all, Flying Ryan Ayler is a friend, and I'm really proud of Ryan and that team. But, you know, those racing gods, the cosmos and that energy, the stuff that I'm always talking about, you know, like what makes the difference between a winner and a loser? 0.2 of a second. The story is just complete. When Angie goes to the final in Chicago, has a problem, Matt gets sick, they rally back, it's all on their shoulders, and she wins the race. This is one of my favorite, up there with Clay Millican winning at Bristol. This is one of my favorite race wins that I've ever gotten to experience, because I felt like that we all rode with Angie. If you don't know Angie Smith, like, let me just say, I'm going to personally vouch for Angie and Matt as really nice, good people. What drag racing is, like, they work themselves to death. They work themselves as much as you need to be as good as they are. But look, let's face it. Matt is, you know, is he an alien? I don't know what he is, but he's a 6-time world champion. He can run 4 bikes and he can do amazing things. And Angie is married to Matt. But this weekend, Angie Smith just, I don't want to say she did it all herself. That's not what I mean, but you know what I mean. Like, this was Angie's weekend. These last 2 races were Angie's 2 races. She has come into her own. She has like burst onto the scene in a new way. And it was so great to see Eddie and Andrew over there helping her. Everyone, like, just the littlest things to allow her to do what it needed to be done. And let's look at Angie Smith's race. So great for Angie Smith. And I don't know a single person who doesn't really like Angie. Got the Byron first round, second round, and goes up against Braden Davis. Braden Davis knew what he was up against. Could have been perfect, still wouldn't have won. Semifinals, Clayton Howie. Angie's 008 against Clayton. You could see it. She just got all of it. 008, 669 at 201. And in the final round, 41 to a 48, Angie with a 668, 201. Like, that bike is flying. And now Angie has a win. And next goal, what's next? What's possible? What is possible for Angie? I talk to people behind the scenes, like little conversations so that I can learn, so I can extract, honestly, information that maybe will benefit me in my racing career, my little racing career that maybe will get going once again. Rockingham in October, baby. Project Pontiac on track. But Angie has been, I think, unburdened from pressure. And I think Matt's illness, she's not thinking about like, oh, I hope to win. Like, she was thinking about the task at hand. And she went out there and just brought it. And it's a very popular win. Very excited. Let's see. Joe, Mom bought tickets for Norwalk. My aunt and my uncle, they've not been to the races, but we're all excited. I'll see you then. He's bringing his aunt and his uncle. Way to go, Blake. That's cool. I'm very excited about Norwalk. Norwalk is going to be fantastic. Very excited about Norwalk. Very excited about all these races. Let's look at the point standings. Pro Stock Motorcycle, Richard Gadsden continues to show the way. And for those of you who are concerned that me and Richard had a disagreement on the starting line, we did not. We were being deferential to one another. He didn't want to try to usurp the hometown hero role from Kelly Klontz, but it is one of his home racetracks. And so we were going back and forth. I think it is amazing that I can get into a informational disagreement with one of the racers as they're getting ready to race. That's awesome. Richard Gadsden is one of my favorites. Second in points, Angie Smith. Third in points, Matt Smith. Matt has said he's not going to be back for a while. He's going to get healthy. He was back on track, but he was gingerly maneuvering. Health, most important. Nothing else matters other than your health. As we all learned, I recommend the Ignition audio-only podcast. We had a very deep and in-depth discussion of the Kyle Busch situation, which kind of made it to the air several times as we all took the moment to reflect on Kyle's passing in public. And it was very sad. And I thought it was so great that JR had the Rowdy decal on there and Doug and everybody had the decals. And thank you, Kelly Crandall, for giving me the Kyle Busch decal, which will come here in the studio. We tackled the issue on the Ignition podcast. I think there's many layers to it. And once the grief of losing a member of our racing family, once we move beyond that, there's vital lessons to be learned. Vital lessons that I need to learn. Powering through, toughing it out is not always the thing to do. But I can tell you, I'm always going to try to do that. Like, that's the way I was raised. You got to rub some dirt on it and go, and work is more important. And you got to be there and can't let your people down or your team down. Can't let it, like, those are the things that enter your mind. And we addressed the issue as best as I think we could. People who are not doctors on the Ignition podcast, and I would invite you to listen to it. But in the end, the summary is this. Dale Earnhardt's passing, the legacy of Dale Earnhardt is that I think we will always try very hard to put safety and safety equipment and the thought of safety and what can be next and what can work as, make it paramount. And I think Kyle Busch's legacy as a great driver, as a super talent in the world of racing, whether or not, I cheered for him on Sundays, is regardless. Like, the guy, maybe the greatest talent NASCAR has ever known. I think his legacy is going to come down to personal health. You can keep going and power through and focus on work and job and passions to a point, but that bad things can happen. And so thank you, Kelly, for the decal. And it was a big talking point throughout the weekend. And congratulations again to Flying Ryan Ayler. He's another one. I had a wonderful conversation with Flying Ryan this weekend. I can't record all my conversations, guys, but now I got the meta glasses. I invite you to check out my Instagram account, WFO Joe. And That's probably the best place to see my personal stuff that I'm not trying to monetize on WFO Radio. And my job for NHRA is, not something I'm monetizing, but it is on my personal account. Wearing the meta glasses gave me a nice point of view to see a bunch of stuff. My conversation with Flying Ryan was personal. But Flying Ryan, man, that kid, Ian Scott Hamilton, Flying Ryan, I'll tell you, he put it like this. He said, look, my time with my dad is finite. And my dad is in there in the shop working every day to make the bike faster. I owe it to my dad and this very small amount of time that we have left, that it could be 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. But at some point, he acknowledged that his dad is not going to be able to spend all this time working to make horsepower. And so he wants to be respectful to that by doing everything he can in his power to win races. And it's working. Those guys, they're acting different. They're racing different. And I'm quite certain they'll be in the winner's circle at some point this year. So it was a great final round. Great seeing Chip Ellis out there. Other winners, Sean Bellemere, top alcohol funny car. Jackie Frick, top alcohol dragster. Why is top alcohol dragster not on the winners list? That is bizarre. Hey, NHRA friends, Jackie Frick not listed. Quite certain she was there. Sean Bellemere, string of 39s. Like, that's crazy. Steve Zupka, comp eliminator. NHRA's got the Great 8 sportsman racers compiled a top 50 list of sportsman racers. This has come out of the 75th season, and it is really great. And so, and the reason I bring that up is because, this Steve Zupka is really good. Making the top 50 is very tough. But Steve Zupka, his dad Phil, was back at the racetrack since having a medical incident like last year or the year before. And he goes out there and wins comp eliminator. You could see his runs. He was having 00 lights. He was driving the stripe well. Great stuff. Ron Rigo won top sportsman. We did it in the lanes with top sportsman. And that's it. You had comp and top sportsman. Cole Rudy won junior dragster. Austin sweeps the weekend, winning the taco challenge. Angie sweeps the weekend. Aaron Stanfield and Sean Langdon sweeps the weekend. And those are your final results from the Potomac Nationals. All right, guys, your final comments. What are they as we get ready to go to New England? As we get ready for the next race, let me know your final thoughts. We'll be back after this.
Foggett is a high-performance fogging oil designed especially for internal combustion engines. Foggett can be used by everyone. If you have a lawnmower, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a tractor, a high-performance car, a classic car, racing vehicles, if it has a cylinder wall, it needs Foggett.
Available at Summit Racing Equipment. Go on to summit.com, get yourself a can of Foggett. You'll find thousands of household usages. You'll be supporting Gary Stinnett as a racer. You'll be supporting WFO Radio. You'll be supporting Summit, and you'll have a great product at home. Get yourself a can of Foggett. Speaking of Gary Stinnett, he is one of the Great 8 Lucas Oil Series racers that were invited to create a list of their top 50 sportsman racers. That will be rolled out on NHRA.com. You should be going to NHRA.com every day regardless. But that is going to be an interesting exercise, thinking of the Mount Rushmores, right? Like Fletcher and Biondo and Scotty Richardson. And I'll be interested to see who everybody picks as they come else. Let's see. Bobby Bender, who's out there. What's up, Bob? Phil and Steve are the best. The Zupkas. Yeah, it was good seeing Phil. Like all you kids out there, right? Like my dad passed away a year and a half ago. My mom just went through a terrible health issue. Your parents, you only get two, and you got to love them and appreciate them and do what they say and not make them mad and try real hard to do that while also pursuing your own endeavors. But yeah, seeing Phil and Steve out there and Steve telling me how, he's trying to, I told Phil, it's like, don't get on a ladder. That's my advice to older folks. Guys, look, you want to do what you want to do what you want to do. Don't get on a ladder. It's not that important. There's someone else who can change the light bulb. Please. Please. Best advice I could give to anyone is if symptoms persist, seek medical advice. Yeah. Right? That's not that hard. Headed to Norwalk as well with my family, looking forward to a new track since we lost the Grove. Yeah, sad. Sounds like the Bader family knows how to entertain the fans along with the NHRA. Jeremiah, Bill Bader, man, I'd love to have him on the show. I don't even want to ask him, and it just intimidated. Bill is too big for WFO, I think. Too much. But his approach to the mowing of the grass and the creating an experience for the fans and putting them first and giving out his own personal cell phone number. Yeah, sure, he's got 2 phones, but still. Norwalk is great. Norwalk is so great. And I love that facility, and we go 4 days. It's going to be awesome. Great job, MIR. Could you mention the passing of Joe Dupuy? Worked for Coletta Air, actually. Dave and Joe and Jason Galvin and myself had a wonderful meal last year at Route 66 Raceway at, was it Goat and Branch or some restaurant, but we came together. Joe passed. It's the more people that you get to know, the more tragedy and just sad moments you're going to have. But we had fun. And, David, thank you. And my condolences on your passing. Joe and I had a few interactions. I know you guys and Jason Galvin especially were really great friends. And I think there's a better thing. There's another thing going. I don't think the light switch just goes off. And so, onward. That's what I think. I hope, at least. I don't know. Bobby Bender going to see us at Bristol. We need to stop being stiff-necked when it comes to men's health. Well, I don't want to speculate. I think there are people who know the story, and I think the story will come out more. And it's not our business, but since it's public, we can think about it. And I had a problem at the track on Saturday. I'll share this with you. And I had a bad Egg McMuffin, man. That's just that simple. It went into my stomach like a porcupine. And I'm in pain. I mean, I like real pain. I'm thinking to myself, man. And so everybody tried to help me with various over-the-counter stuff. And it's still just like, ouch. And someone that I respect greatly, Allie's like, maybe you should go see Doc Surface. And I said, nah, I'm going to power through. Right after, here I am giving this speech. And I'm going to power through. No, I'm not going to go see Doc Surface, waste his time on this. I knew what it was. And I was able to alleviate my situation with another doctor, Dr. Pepper. And that kind of got me back to normal. But it is the natural state of the person in our club, whatever this is, like Wes has got his Racers Club thing. This Racers Club of people who like to, Joe Morrison said it, to work yourself into a negative state. It's part of motorsports, a badge of honor, if you will. And I'm going to do it too. And hopefully my friends will take care of me as try when I'm doing something that may be against my best interest, trying to power through. Hopefully. Great show once again. Thank you very much. We'll be tuning in this weekend, qualifying in the finals. Yeah, NHRA.TV, guys. We're having a great year. I think we've tuned up many of I got no text about audio. I got no text about issues. I think we have gotten over the hump once again, which is great stuff. We'll have to see. And just like that, we're headed to New England. Headed up there, a great facility. New England Dragway, House of Loans, which I don't know if he wants me calling it, but this is Brian Loan's home track. And the track that spawned everything that is Brian Loan's. And you can see it there. We're going to be doing the lobster thing on Friday night again, which is fun. The first time this year, we're doing the Friday night thing. Loans is soliciting names for this year's lobster. Because, Larry Lobster last year, yeah, he's gone. Sorry, but he's gone. So hopefully you'll be watching all that on NHRA.TV, and I think it'll go out on the social channels. Just a great facility. We stay up in Portsmouth. Beautiful part of the country. But that having been said, I am a huge fan of this Maryland race for multiple reasons. And the ultimate reason was I was able to go back into the District of Columbia. DC, where I lived in Arlington, Virginia, when I worked at XM Satellite Radio for several years. And I went into the district every day. I got to live the capital of the United States experience. It's one of the best things I've done in my life. Many people go off to college. I didn't go off to college. I stayed in my community, and I bracket raced, and I raced in my community during my college years. But a few years after that, for the XM Satellite Radio job, I moved to the nation's capital. And I stayed in Arlington because you get a lot more bang for your buck, honestly, back then. This is like 2003 to 2005, 2006, that era, right? Prior to WFO, when I was working on NASCAR radio and Power Shift, and started the first ever nationwide broadcast of featuring NHRA drag racing. NHRA Nitro was a Tuesday show, and we've kind of carried it onto this. If you don't know, that's how this came to be, right? Getting back into the district, being in D.C., seeing the Capitol, seeing the Washington Monument, opening the windows of the rental car and hearing, the patriotic music playing just everywhere. I'm talking about the Marines hymn, military music playing around, seeing high school kids getting off of buses, going on field trips, driving by the Smithsonian Institutes. Like this is the capital of what being an American is all about. This is where, good or bad, everyone is. The lawmakers, the lobbyists, the decisions. It's all happening right there. So next year, when we go to the Potomac Nationals, maybe you fly to the race, you go into D.C., and you experience it. It's about an hour and 40 minutes south. Not bad at all. And I just had a blast. Like, I love it so much. And the food is incredible. The restaurants, like great restaurants per capita. I know Life's a Drag, they focus on restaurants. So I don't want to steal their thunder. I'm sure Elon had a great dining experience. My dining experience was outrageous. But, it was Thursday and Sunday. Places that, maybe we don't want to share exactly where they are, what the crowd's going. But who knows? C5 Pete, DC is a great experience. Another great WFO. Jimmy is a good interview. Great guest. Thank you. Says Nose for Nitro. I like the segment you have in the staging lanes. In the Lanes, brought to you by Mosier Engineering. I don't mind mentioning Mosier on WFO. They're not a sponsor, but I'm a client. I put Mosier axles on the back of Project Pontiac this year. Still haven't driven the car yet. We'll get it. I say it all the time. It can't be said enough. The appreciation and the understanding of what the Lucas Oil Series racer, the sportsman racer, is to NHRA cannot be overstated. We are working very hard to always make sure that they know. I know sometimes on their social media, they will go and be really, really offensively negative, as if we don't see it. Like minutes after trying really hard to do a great job, you'll see something negative. I'm quite certain they don't think about that kind of stuff. Like, oh man, they're watching? Yeah, we're watching. And Brian Wagner, Brian from Dragzine, he had a meltdown on social media about the negativity that has taken over the world. We all need to work hard. We need to work harder to realize that there's 50 to 100 people that are spinning the negativity in such a way that it is affecting everyone. And on a larger level, about everything that's out there in the world, same thing. A tiny minority putting a negative spin on so many things. All right, guys, Life's a Drag. Tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time with Elon and Abby. Maybe we'll get a John Force story this week. Jimmy Prock, thank you for joining us on the show. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you in New England. WFO.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.